Hello and welcome to the debut edition of Report Desk Africa. So the plan is every week, News Central will bring you reports from across the African continent, spotlighting recent happenings, unfolding and developing stories through our exclusive reports. Now, on Report Desk Africa, we'll be digging into the backstory and getting first-hand insights into these stories. My name is Felicity Ezewike.
And I am Bernard Akede. Our reports for today, being the first edition, like Felicity has said, will take us through Nigeria and then to South Africa, Zambia, just to mention few. This is Report Desk Africa. Let's begin right after the break. Thank you for staying with us. Voting has started in Zambia, southern part of Africa, and it began with President Edgar Lungu casting his vote in a keenly observed election. Now, although the voting is going smoothly so far, as we hear, electorates complain of slow process by which the officials at the polling stations are carrying out their duties, which has been discouraging to the voters, I beg your pardon, despite the large turnout. Now, we'll take you straight to Lusaka, Zambia, where voting is ongoing.
Tempers have started to rise among Zambian citizens due to what they term a slow process from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, of making sure that they cast their vote. In more than 7 of the 20 wards of Livingstone constituency, the complaint is the same. Even the police have failed to control people on how they should line up, as no social distance is being observed.
But the line is not working. You see, we are complaining. We have got a lot to do. We have left our jobs. We are not working. You know, there is no employment. And we are in business. So now the money has gone because of voting. So we are complaining. At least those people inside there should fasten the system. They must be fast. You see? And we are not even being addressed here.
I'm from within this area. Yeah, I came here exactly 6 hours. I was far from that side. But up to now, we haven't been attended. And we don't know what is happening inside because the queue is not moving at all. The attendance is good, but the movements are not moving. Yeah.
Meanwhile, a man has been rescued by the Zambian army after he was found with ballot papers in his car from agitated people in Solwezi district, northwestern province, when they found him in possession of ballots. They tried to kill him within his car, but the army was quick to respond. However, his car was damaged. Reporting from News Central TV, I'm Lydia Makina.
All right, that's an update of events as it stands at the moment in Zambia, where the election is on. And to give us the backstory to that report and other events in the elections, we have joining us News Central's correspondent, Lydia Makina. Lydia, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, give us the backstory. We could see some violence there. Was it widespread or it was just contained?
Well, the violence out there happened in Solwezi, that's in northwestern province, part of Zambia, where a suspected PF member, actually is a PF chairperson, that is Jackson, had gone to cast in his vote, and then the suspected UPND members suspected that he was carrying in some ballot papers, and in that they started throwing stone on his car, and then the good part is that the army were around to rescue that fight, but unfortunately he died at the hospital because the injury were too much on him. That you see that people were throwing too much stones on him, and then even after they had rescued him, the army he died at the hospital. So the violence really happened in northwestern province, that is in Solwezi. As well as Lusaka, we also saw some violence happening in some parts of the polling station, where the usual patriotic front and the UPND members, trying to have a difference among themselves. Some people appear that's the ruling party trying to steal in some ballot papers. So we see that UPND members are really monitoring this election so strictly that it has never happened before. So whenever they're seeing somebody having papers or carrying something to them, it's a suspicion to see this person is carrying ballot papers, and then they just attack that person. So we have experienced violence in Solwezi and as well as Lusaka, but to other parts of the country, all the 10 provinces of the country, Southern Province and Western Province and other provinces, we have not experienced any violence aside the Lusaka Province and Northwestern, which is in Solwezi.
Okay, Lydia, besides the violence that you mentioned that's been experienced in certain parts of the country, or just the two parts of the country, now we're hearing that some of the voters, yes, were disgruntled about the slow pace of the Electoral Commission workers. Have they picked up pace? Has there been any improvement? Or are voters still upset that the pace is slower than they expected?
Actually, the place is actually slow because the Electoral Commission of Zambia has had said the voting will stop at 6 p.m. But we are seeing that they have now authorized that they can cast in even after 6 p.m. As I'm talking to you, some of them are still in the queue casting in the vote even after the time that they had told them like it will end at 6 p.m. because of the process that had happened. So as people had gone in to cast in their vote as early as 3 a.m., some of them went at 4, but to find out that from that moment, some of them started voting at 2 p.m., 3 a.m., starting voting at 2 p.m., which was really something unacceptable according to them. So people are complaining that the process was actually slow, or is actually slow, because it is still happening even after they had said it will stop at 6 p.m. So this is something that the community is complaining about, to say the process of by the Electoral Commission of Zambia is really slow, that the people in forefront are doing things very slow. That's why we are saying that people had complained. As well as the blind people, they are saying that the names of the presidents, you see that 16 presidential candidates are standing for this, but they cannot, they did not write their names there, so they cannot fill in to say we are voting for who. So this is the complaint that we are having from people right now, that the blind, they cannot, isn't that they're supposed to write where they fill in, say I'm voting for this particular person, but they did not indicate, they did not write names on the ballot paper for time. And as well, so.
All right, Lydia, in the interest of time, so we can actually take other stories as well. Before this election, there were concerns about the presence of the military, the deployment rather, of the military by President Lungu. What's the role that the military is playing now in the election? Is that concern still high up there? Lydia, can you hear me?
The decision that His Excellency Dr. Edgar Changwa made to deploy the army was the good decision, because it is helping the nation to have peace. Even when we saw that there was violence in Solwezi district, if not for the army, the worst was going to happen. As well as Lusaka has always been in a lot of violence. So if not that the army everywhere, the worst we're going to have. So the army being in the police to make sure that everything goes in well is a good thing. It's really helping people. Even though that they can rely people to the queue so that they can cast a vote and, make people to adhere to the
All right, Lydia, I'm afraid we might need to just thank you at this time, because the connection is a bit hazy. Thank you very much, Lydia, and remember to stay safe. Okay, Bennett, a couple of things we should put out there for people watching. One of them, we understand that internet has been cut off during this election period, and we're even lucky to be able to speak with Lydia
from there,
on the development with the election. This one is a hot one, really.
It is a hot one. We've been hearing terms like close to call, unpredictable, well, this rarely happens in African countries. It's usually landslide. That's what we hear. But in this case,
Zambia has actually before now been like a role model for Africa's democracy.
It has.
But in recent times, the administration of Lungu has faced some criticism, especially with they say it's like into dictatorship, but no one can be 100% certain that is the truth if opposition is consistently, speaking. So, we have about 16 candidates on this election, but we only know of these two, Ichelema and
Edgar Lungu.
Yeah. All right. Next up, the National Association of Resident Doctors in Nigeria has embarked on strike over non-payment of salaries. Now, that is one story that is trending in Nigeria. They said also not only non-payment of salaries, but implementation of agreements reached in the past by the federal government. Recently, members of the association have expressed concern over the non-resolution of the ongoing strike by the government. Before we continue this conversation, please take a look at this report.
Lagos Island, crammed with patients, doctors and non-medical staff. Despite the strike action, the hospital is abuzz. News Central is barely allowed to film. Meanwhile, at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luth, the situation is different, as parts of the usually busy hospital look scanty. It is day 8 of the strike action, and the doctors are saying they are not backing down in any way. We're actually at the conference room of the Association of Resident Doctors right here at Luth, and that's because the University Teaching Hospital would not let the media in, so we had to sneak into this secretariat to be able to find out what's going on, especially since the government has threatened that if the doctors do not go back to work, they will not be paid. However, the tempo here is that the doctors are still not going back to work. They are calling the federal government of Nigeria's threat a bluff, and they're saying there is no going back to work just yet. The president of the Association of Resident Doctors speaks to us.
The situation is still the same. The strike continues. Presently within the hospital, there are no resident doctors because the directive from the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors is still that nothing has been achieved, and as such, the strike continues.
The doctors have made firm their demands. Improved welfare and standard medical facilities top their list.
There are 13 doctors leaving the country every week. As we speak now, more than 50% of registered Nigerian doctors are outside the country. This is rather unfortunate. People that have been trained to give quality healthcare to Nigerians are no longer here because their welfare is not well taken care of. For example, in Luth, we've not had call food for more than 22 months, meaning that if a doctor is on call, there won't be food for the doctor. Doctor will have to look for food around instead of attending to patients at night. Most of the rooms we stay when we are on call, which we call call rooms.
Now, we'd just like to put out that report was filed on Monday, which was the 9th, I beg your pardon, day of the strike by the resident doctors, and that was in Lagos, here in Nigeria. Now we'll be going to Abuja, where we're joined by our bureau chief, Amadine Uyi, who will bring us up to speed on how this strike is going on at the federal capital. Amadine, thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Bernard. Good evening, Felicity.
Good to see you. So, tell us, a few days ago we heard that there's every likelihood that the strike will be called off, but here we are today. The strike is still on.
From information and from events playing in the federal capital, I think not much has been achieved lawmakers from Nigeria's House of Representatives tried to intervene on the issue, but from information we got earlier today is that they have been unable to be able to convince the doctors to return back to the hospitals. Yesterday, there was supposed to be a meeting with representatives of the Ministry of Health. That also did not go down well, as the representatives of the medical doctors, they say that they accuse government of not taking their demands seriously, expressing their disappointment at the way at which the federal government delegation is handling the strike issue.
They say there is no going back, but we hear that the people in Rivers State, that's the resident doctors in Rivers State, have pulled out of the main strike. What can you tell us about that?
So I think the information we got from Rivers State is that the residents in the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, not Rivers State as a whole. You know, there are different federal facilities, federal medical centers, teaching hospitals, state-run hospitals there. They all belong to, they're all part of the Resident Doctors Association. But what we are hearing is that it's just that at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. We are still following that to be sure if it is the Rivers State chapter that has pulled out. But be that as it may, Rivers State is just one out of 36 states plus the FCT. Patients are groaning, hospitals have been grounded, activities have been grounded, and it's not a very, very good situation, especially if you have a loved one who is in the hospital and is in need of their services.
Okay, Amadine, we would like to thank you for the information you've given us, and we'll continue to connect and communicate with you as you bring us up to speed with the ongoings concerning the strike with the resident doctors across the country.
Thank you.
All right, now we continue with the show, and it's time to look into our crystal ball and give you a forecast of some of the stories that we believe will continue to be making headlines in the coming week. You're still watching Report Desk Africa, and now we're taking you to forecast of some of the things that we believe will continue to run the show. Zambian elections. It doesn't look like this story is going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Yes, it's not. That one is not. Given the resident doctor situation, it's not going away anytime soon. But let's get Chidinma's perspective. Chidinma Wosu joins us now. Chidinma, what stories should we be looking out for?
Good evening, Bernard. All right, so our next report, we will be bringing you interesting stories, one of which is the Zambian elections. Zambian elections today are exercising their right to vote in what seems to be the most competitive elections for the past 10 years, the most contested election in Zambia. Now, Edgar Lungu is actually sure of winning with about 16 contestants. This is very interesting, and we can't wait to see what the turnout of this is. Trial of Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho is also next. We also have the Benin Republic, who have also refused to release Sunday Igboho Kanu, also still in detention. And the IPOB is also evoking a sit-at-home order in the East.
All right, Chidinma, thank you very much for that quick look at some of the stories we should be looking out for. But I do know that, you know, the story, aside from the story of Nnamdi Kanu, there is this one in South Africa with the former president, the case of graft. We expect that story will continue, and expectedly we'll also see what the coronavirus is never going away. There's always something, you know, people receiving their vaccine.
Of course, and well, different African countries are receiving different vaccines, like like we know, and well, there is still more clamoring for vaccines to continue to spread. African countries are complaining about the uneven spread of the vaccine. So definitely, like you said, coronavirus story will definitely be one that we'll be looking at. Well,
Chidinma, thank you very much once again for bringing us up to speed with the stories to look out for.
It has been a great show, a good debut, I must say so.
Time is not always our friend,
it never
really.
Is.
It's never our friend. But we'll be back again next week, and we'll be taking all the backstory to all the trending stories that you see here on News Central Television.
Thank you for staying with us, and do have a great week.
My name is Felicity Ezewike.
And I am Bernard Akede.